Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I am Money Mike, and it is SummerSlam week. The go-home show live from Madison Square Garden. What will we see before we get to Smashville, Tennessee on Saturday night? But before we get into SummerSlam, and I will have a lot more content in regards to SummerSlam, which I will be in attendance for this Saturday night in Nashville, let's talk some AEW because CM Punk has given us an update on his injury. Tony Khan has responded, and I'll get into why this interim world title nonsense needs to end following the update given to us by CM Punk. Alright, so before we get into this, you know what to do. Just like every other YouTuber, like, subscribe to this channel for more wrestling content. And hey, the NFL training camp is starting this week. I believe it's today that every team is reporting to training camp for the start of the NFL season. And there will be much more content here coming up in regards to the NFL. I have a video that I am making in regards to Kyler Murray's new contract with the Arizona Cardinals, and basically how it impacts my Ravens signing Lamar Jackson, how it impacts the Bengals and Joe Burrow, who just were in the Super Bowl, and much more. So, subscribe for more NFL content, wrestling news. But let's get it back right into this video. CM Punk, he defeated Hangman Adam Page back at Double or Nothing to become the new AEW World Champion. Now, depending on the side of the fence you're on, maybe Hangman should have won. Maybe now in hindsight of the injury, maybe Hangman should have won. I don't know which side of the fence you're on, but the point here is that CM Punk's injury has derailed a lot of AEW's plans with him being the world champion. Obviously, we don't know what the plans were for Punk as world champion beyond Forbidden Door. Obviously, Punk being the world champion going into All Out in Chicago would have been huge. Punk returning back home to Chicago a year later after he made his return last year as the world champion. I mean, that would have been huge for AEW. But obviously now we now know what's really happening here with CM Punk. So basically this whole thing started back in December or maybe January with the TNT title, when Cody Rhodes was supposed to face Sammy Guevara for the TNT title at Battle of the Belts 2, I believe it was, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Cody Rhodes, due to COVID, could not participate. Therefore, Tony Khan said, hey, we're going to crown an interim champion instead. So my thinking, or, at that time is, okay, fine, whatever. Cody's only going to be gone for a couple weeks. They had their ladder match. Sammy won. Cody eventually made his way back to WWE, as we all know. And then here we are. CM Punk, he defeats Hangman Adam Page at Double or Nothing. And depending on the story, whenever he got injured, whether that was, during the match with Hangman Page, after the match, some people say it was during the entrance on the Dynamite after Double or Nothing in California when he did the jump into the fans and he might have hit his foot on the guardrail or whatever. Some say it was during the match where he did the buckshot lariat and he messed up his foot doing that. But the point being is CM Punk won and they weren't without a world champion. So Tony Khan decided, hey, we need an interim world champion. And obviously with the big Forbidden Door pay-per-view coming up, it was, well, they needed a world champion, but they went the route with the TNT title, and it was kind of like, why? So now, before we get into that more, let's go into what CM Punk said at San Diego Comic-Con. One day I will make it to San Diego Comic-Con. One day I will. Author Mike Rowe, this is from NoDQ.com. Arthur Mike Rowe was in attendance for San Diego Comic-Con when CM Punk spoke at a panel. According to Rowe, CM Punk said he has no timeline. Now this is key for what I'm about to say. For when he'll be back, as his foot was, quote unquote, shattered. CM Punk noted that his foot is still healing and he has been learning to re-walk. So that's obviously not a really good update. Obviously, you would hope that, hey, maybe he could be at All Out in Chicago. They could do the unification match with Punk and Moxley at All Out, with Punk regaining the title and being the undisputed champion, and going back to continuing his run as Tony intended it before he got injured. Tony Khan, meanwhile, this is what he had to say. He's doing well in his recovery. He was at San Diego Comic-Con today. I didn't see his panel. We obviously saw that Bryan Danielson announced his return there, which is great news. Bryan Danielson will be wrestling at AEW Dynamite this coming Wednesday, making his return from injury. I don't want to scoop anything he might have said at the Comic-Con panel, but he's doing well. He's not behind in his recovery. I wouldn't want to step on anything, but I haven't spoken to him since he did the panel. But going into the panel, Tony Khan said he's on track, and we look forward to a great unification match when he's back, whoever the interim champion is. So yes, obviously it's going to be Moxley. Moxley has been defending the title, which is great. It's great to see that, Tony Khan, AEW, they're having their champion fight on TV, which is great, but at the same time, you kind of want to, they don't have a lot. They don't do monthly pay-per-views like WWE, but it is great every once in a while to have a championship match on free TV. But probably not the way, we just had Moxley defend against Brody King. So now he's already defending his title again this week. And I feel like championship matches on TV should be something that are special, something you don't see, something that, if a title is being defended on free TV, it's a pretty big deal. So I'm not a fan of Moxley already defending his title, the interim title, this Wednesday after already defending against Brody King. But again, I'll get into the interim stuff in a minute. In regards to All Out, so I can't, this is what Tony Khan said, I can't rule it out, but I also can't promise. I don't want to say anything when it comes to somebody's recovery from a real serious injury. He's really battling hard to get back as soon as he possibly can. So this is the problem here. There was a report that CM Punk said, hey, let me vacate the title. Tony Khan did not want to vacate the title because he has this weird obsession with interim champions. And that's great. Unification matches, having two different champions. It's great when the story is there. The story is there and it's not forced. It wasn't, when you look back at, obviously going back to Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, WrestleMania 10, the ladder match to crown the undisputed Intercontinental Champion. The story was there. And the match was fantastic. We all know that. But the story was there. It was set up absolutely perfect. The way AEW is handling this whole interim champion thing is just kind of forcing it for no reason whatsoever. AEW does not do monthly pay-per-views like WWE. Like, you don't need an interim champion. Like, AEW, okay, here's the thing. Obviously a lot of people look at WWE and they go, well, you should always have a champion. We've seen it with Brock, and now we're seeing it with Roman, where it's like, oh, they're not on the show every week. Well, I think Tony Khan has kind of misheard what we were talking about, because I think he heard that and said, okay, we need a champion every week. I'm going to make an interim champion in case of an injury, so we have a champion every week. No, again, CM Punk said there's no timeline. He's learning how to rewalk. Let's just make that clear. To me, that means you don't know when he's going to come back. So how much longer is Jon Moxley going to have that interim title tag? Or that interim tag? Because at some point you just got to say, all right, look, we don't know when CM Punk's coming back. So therefore, Moxley, you are the official world champion. We will, and CM Punk will get his title shot when he is healthy and is able to return. It's as simple as that. You don't have to go through all this nonsense of crowning a new interim champion and forcing a title unification match when the storyline is not there and you're forcing the story to happen. It's one of those things where Tony Khan, I think he just looks at boxing and says, oh, well, boxing has interim champions. Well, this isn't boxing, and obviously, if you don't know when when CM Punk is going to be cleared, take the title off of him. You say, all right, take the title off of him and say, all right, we're going to have a battle. We're going to have a tournament to crown a new champion at Forbidden Door, and we're going to have New Japan guys, we're going to have AEW guys, everybody's eligible, and then, or you still set up the whole Tanahashi-Jon Moxley match and just say that the winner is the official world champion. I don't want to drag this on this video much longer, but I think right now, given the update we just got from CM Punk, that it's time for Tony Khan, AEW, to crown Jon Moxley the official AEW World Champion and end this world interim title nonsense for good. Don't do it again. Please don't do it again, Tony. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Should AEW remove the interim title, the interim tag from Jon Moxley and make him the official world champion, especially if CM Punk cannot make it all out, where obviously you would do the title unification match at All Out in Chicago. So let me know in the comments below. And again, SummerSlam week, I will be here all week with content in regards to SummerSlam, and I'll have some NFL videos as well with training camp starting